Welcome to the WWE Podcast Mailbag, everybody, and we're going to get things going in just a minute with all of your calls, all of your emails, and don't forget, next week, Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan are going to be taking over the show as it's SummerSlam week next week, but you guys are blessed with me the entire show for today, so we're going to dive into all of your calls and emails right after this.
Are you a fan of shoujo anime? Do you wish you could find a podcast that gushed about your favorite shoujo moments in film and manga? Then you need to follow the Shoujo Sunday podcast. Hosted by magical girls Gianna Luna and Chica Supreme, Shoujo Sunday aims to review and reflect on shoujo properties that deserve more attention than what they currently receive. Listen and laugh as they use ice cream puns to talk about anime like Maid-sama, Ouran High School Host Club, Fruits Basket, Tokyo Mew Mew, and so much more. Follow Shoujo Sunday on your preferred podcast platform and across social media.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me. Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 20th, 2022, and we are going to get things going in just a minute with all of your calls and emails and voicemails. And interested to hear what you guys have to say this week. I'm trying to get this out on time. I did mention in my previous show that I might get this out on Thursdays, but I'm ahead of schedule. I'm working from home today, so it may not always happen this way, but certainly I'm going to make my best effort. And, there's not a ton today. There's not a ton of emails and voicemails, but let's dive in here. And let's get to Grim Reefer. He writes in and says, I'll keep it short this week. Was Raw really TV-14, or was I expecting a bloodbath and a load of F-bombs? So TV-14 is not official yet. TV-14 is something that is still being internally discussed in WWE. It is not official in any capacity yet. My assumption is that WWE will be implementing it post SummerSlam. If I was WWE, I would want a decision made by SummerSlam, because I think that at SummerSlam you'd want to run more than just one ad package to promote TV-14, or at least some major announcement that it's going TV-14 at SummerSlam when you have a ton of eyeballs on the product. Why not do it then and get people pumped and excited? So I think that they'll announce it at SummerSlam, and then the actual implementation of TV-14 will follow very shortly thereafter. Drew working his way through the Brawling Brutes to get at Sheamus is like an old video game where you work up to the final boss. I think they will drag this out to SummerSlam or after, so no Sheamus versus Drew next week. His opponent will probably be a sushi chef or a pumped up janitor. Well, that's a good analogy. That's kind of a lot of times that's the way it works, though. You have the henchmen, and you have to destroy the henchmen in the order of importance, right? That's the way that a lot of movies, not just video games, but the movies work. Like, you have to get to the lower kind of peon guys, then you work up to the mid-range, and then you get to like their personal bodyguards, and then you eventually get to that person. It's kind of the same thing here. I think that it's going to be a match at SummerSlam. I think it's going to be a match at SummerSlam that Sheamus is forced to be in. Why that for some reason Sheamus has to force himself into this match instead of like just grasping at this opportunity to be in the main event of Clash at the Castle. Like, why is he stalling? What's he waiting for? Like, why not grab this opportunity? But I think he'll be quote unquote forced to be in a match with Drew, or he will forfeit his opportunity at SummerSlam. So that's what I think. Let's see. The best rivalry at the moment is Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan and Kanye Twitty. Much better than any storyline WWE has. Cheers for now, Grim. Well, there's a lot of rivalries going on on this podcast, and a lot of heels floating around, a lot of people talking trash, a lot happening. I have to say, I didn't mean to create such a hostile environment, but you guys just seem to want to get involved with it, and just your personalities clash. But as long as it's all in good fun, I'm all good for it. I mean, like, as long as it doesn't actually turn serious where somebody actually gets really offended and pissed off and, people start getting a little bit out of hand, I don't care what you guys do. I'm not your mom. I'm not your dad. I don't really care, but it is fun to see some rivalries, in a friendly way. So, all right. Thanks, Grim. And let's see here. Let's get to our next patron here on the Mailbag Show and see who it is. All right. God, I love that music. It's good stuff. Cameron Grimes. Carmelo Hayes. I don't know where I came up with that. Carmelo Hayes. Good stuff. But that is not just Carmelo Hayes' music. In fact, Carmelo Hayes adopted it from Mr. Dennis McGinley, who is here this week to talk to us. And he writes in and says, "Hey, Matt, this is just a short rant from your heel of the show, Mr. Dennis McGinley. Y'all can call me whatever you like. That is your personal business as part of the show. And Matt, I can't go any more into detail. Calling you guys dumb nuts or hog eating dumb nuts. So all your patrons on Discord chat dissing the tag team of the Viking Raiders. I have something to tell all of you. Until you can get in that WWE ring and wrestle like they do, as, quote, told by creative, then I think you shouldn't down the Viking Raiders. I think they are a good tag team, but just overrated in the WWE. One last thing. I am with Brock and a fan of his, too. It is time for a tag team Uso and Roman to end that championship, to end that title, whatever you want to call it. Storyline has gone too far. Dumb hogs, I'm out. Talking to you next week, Matt. I think you're like what I have to say in the voicemail. Well, Dennis, I'm interested to hear what your voicemail is. I'm interested. That's coming up shortly. No worries there. But so now I'm a bit neutral on the Viking Raiders right now. How I feel about them is kind of in between. I don't love them. I don't think they're doing awesome, but I'm on board for at least seeing where this goes, given that they kind of got a bit of a refresh. But to say that, we can't have an opinion about something because we don't participate in it, I mean, that'd be like, okay, well, you can't ever have an opinion about baseball or football or basketball or any professional sport. Just because you don't participate in something, I mean, doesn't mean you can't have an opinion about it. It doesn't mean that we don't understand what it takes to be in that or appreciate the effort and the time and the sacrifice it takes to get to a certain level. And we don't appreciate how hard it is to do the profession they do. But as a paying customer, as a fan, I think we've earned the right to, since we are the ones who are in part giving WWE the money to pay the star. Right? We are essentially paying, we are a contributor to the paycheck of the person who's performing. We certainly have a say. We should have a say, but I know what you mean. And I haven't checked the Discord server lately, so maybe I should moderate that. But thanks, Dennis. I will talk to you next week. All right. So let's see what else we got. I really don't know. That insanely, that may be the only 2 emails that we have this week, but I'm double checking to make sure that we don't have a straggler, because there always is. And I think we do. Dennis O'Brien. He writes in and says, "Hey, Matt, the idea of WWE going to TV14 sounds good to me. It needs to be done. It is so behind AEW with their storylines, it's ridiculous. Vince will need to step aside. I would bet my life that other stories will break over the coming weeks about him. Some people have skeletons in their closet. He has a whole graveyard in his. I think maximum..." Okay, so those first couple things, TV14 sounds good. And I mean, I don't know if they're behind AEW. AEW just has more tools to work with. They have a larger creative envelope, a larger world to tell their story in because of the rating. But, it's not that as if WWE doesn't know how to tell stories per se. I think they just have too many writers who have too many ideas that they write for Vince and they don't write for the actual fan. And I don't know if, again, TV14 is not a cure-all. If you think that TV14 is going to make everything better and all the storylines make sense and everything's coherent and there's logic and there's deep character development, I don't think that's going to be the case. It's just they'll add some cussing, they'll add maybe a little bit of a more scandalous storyline, maybe some blood, right? But if their foundational ability to tell a story with just basic stuff that you need to tell a good story is not there, TV-14 doesn't make a difference. The TV rating won't make a difference if they don't fix the fundamental problems with their storytelling. So, okay, as far as, Vince having a whole graveyard, of course he does. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to hear what happens with Vince. I think Maximum Male Model's first program will be against a face-turned Los Lotharios. It will be interesting to see how long the Maximum Model gimmick will last. I think the reason they are doing what they are doing with the McIntyre-Sheamus #1 contenders match by having Sheamus pull out at the last minute is to have the match at SummerSlam. Thanks, Matt. Talk soon. Yeah. That's exactly, Dennis, you're right. I agree based on logic, and I did mention this earlier, but I think you're right. As far as Drew versus Sheamus at SummerSlam, that's going to be something that they're going to build to, and that they're going to have the result of that be, of course, the person who comes out of that facing Roman Reigns at Clash at the Castle. As far as the Maximum Male Models first program, could be easily against Los Lotharios. I mean, they were very unlikable. I did not enjoy the kiss cam with the plant that just happened to be the attractive woman that you never noticed at all until their entrance, when they clearly brought an extra in from wherever that was an attractive female and would just, be at the perfect place in the same part of the audience every single week for the kiss cam. It was awful. I'm not a fan of that at all. But they were good in the ring. Their general gimmick was okay. There are these arrogant guys that try to position themselves as like sex symbols, but can back it up in the ring. They had an okay gimmick, a little bit shallow, but they could build off of it. And then, if they were to return as a babyface, I wouldn't hate it to face Maximum Male Models. Sure, why not? All right, well, that actually, unbelievably, is it for the emails for this week. And, hey, I'm not going to complain. I am very, very tired, but no one cares. You just want to hear my responses and hear the voices of the listeners, and that's what you're going to get right now, because we are about to dive into the voicemails. I would imagine that next week and the week after, things are going to heat up with SummerSlam preview and review. So, I'm looking forward to that. And if you guys are a first-time listener, or you just forgot the contact info for how to get on the show, it's in the description notes of this show. Email, voicemail, all that is right in the notes of this particular episode. So, all right, let's dive into the voicemails and see who's up first.
Hey, Matt and gang, this is CT Mike calling from Connecticut, and I just wanted to run a little bit of a storyline that I came up with by you guys about John Cena and bringing him back for some kind of a short-term storyline. So what if John came into the ring and started doing his promo, which is arguably one of the top 5 talkers of all time, so it really doesn't matter what he might be ranting about, but the Judgment Day shows up, gets in his face, and proceeds to be a beatdown on John Cena by Finn and Damian, and lo and behold, out comes, yes, you guessed it, for his return, Edge, to save the day, and it leads up to a tag team match with Edge and John Cena versus the Judgment Day, maybe at Survivor Series, depending how long they're going to make the storyline go. And Edge and Cena end up getting the win, and all of a sudden Edge turns on Cena. So what this does is solves the problem with Edge being out of Judgment Day. He can get back as the leader. That solves that debacle that they completely screwed up, but would also set up an eventually match for, say, maybe the Royal Rumble, or maybe they could stretch it out to WrestleMania, but John Cena versus Edge as the head of the Judgment Day. So it's kind of a win-win. It fixes the Judgment Day problem with Edge leaving abruptly for whatever reason they decided to do it, and sets up a great main event with Cena versus Edge, with Edge having the heat. Back being in Judgment Day as a full-blown heel. Let me know what you think. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
Well, CT Mike from Connecticut. Good to hear from you. And boy, what a storyline you just put together. I dove right into that. Like, I bought it. You got me hook, line, and sinker for a number of reasons. Number one, it keeps Edge heel. Well, it turns him babyface, but ultimately the goal is to keep him a heel. I love that. I think Edge as a heel is, in some ways, more entertaining than him as a babyface. Now, I think he's also very good as a babyface. It doesn't feel like Seth as a babyface. That always feels weird. Or Charlotte as a babyface. There are certain people that it just doesn't feel right. Edge isn't one of those, but if I was to choose the Edge I like, then the heel Edge is so good. And I like that he would resolve the issues with the Judgment Day. He would prove to them that he is still their leader by beating them, and then turn on Cena. That's if Cena returns. That's if the Judgment Day show up, if the Judgment Day beat him down, and if Cena comes out to, or rather Edge comes out to help Cena, and then if that leads to a tag team match, and if that tag team match ends up seeing the victory go to Edge and Cena, and then the Judgment Day somehow accepts him back into the group, and there's a lot of ifs, of course, but this is what's fun, and it's plausible. Because Edge isn't done, obviously. John Cena's not done. He's stated that many times. So this is plausible. And not just that, not just that it makes sense, but also the history between John Cena and Edge. If you guys are new fans, there's a lot of history between Edge and John Cena. A lot. A lot. Not nearly as much as John Cena versus Randy Orton per se, but certainly a lot. Edge was actually the one to... when he first won the Money in the Bank, he won the first Money in the Bank ladder match and then won his first championship in Albany, New York. I was there in 2006 at New Year's Revolution, beating none other than John Cena after he had competed in an Elimination Chamber match and retained the WWE Championship, which at that point was the god-awful Spinner Belt Championship that made it look just like a toy from KB Toys. But Edge was the one that started that whole program, and they worked really well. They've had some excellent matches together. They could pull on the history, and the promos between those two would be so much fun. Edge versus John Cena, sign me up for WrestleMania. Where do I sign? That's great. Good stuff, Mike. I love it. All right, let's see who's next.
It's Kyle from Baltimore. So I wanted to talk about Seth Rollins. What are they doing with him? That's my main question. Is that what is WWE doing with Seth Rollins? He goes into the beginning of the year facing Roman Reigns, and it's been disqualification, and then we'll go back to it. Why did he even do that in the first place? And he's going to lose it to Cody Rhodes. He was in a random tag match last week on Raw, or this past week on Raw, and it's like, it makes no sense. What are they doing with him? Is he ever going to face Roman Reigns ever again, and just to do that match, that even if that means Reigns defeats Rollins, even though I would hope that Rollins will defeat Roman Reigns. So I don't know what they plan on doing with Seth Rollins. Is Becky Lynch looks like doing something at SummerSlam with Bianca doing a rematch for the championship? Where is Seth Rollins in that mix? Why is he not facing Roman Reigns for that championship at SummerSlam? Why does it have to be Brock Lesnar? So that's my question about Seth, but thanks for a call. Bye.
Kyle, it's a conundrum. It is a conundrum of criminal proportions to see Seth Rollins where he is. Now, he's not getting squashed, but the victories he gets are coming against Ezekiel, somebody that you expect to lose at this point, somebody that is kind of a half comedy act right now. And that's the only person that he's had any significant victories against. Every time Seth Rollins has a big match, he seems to lose and lose and lose and lose. What happened with Cody Rhodes? 3-4 times he lost? Three times in a row he lost to Cody. They were going to do part 4, but that'll come probably at the end of this year, early next year, maybe all the way to WrestleMania. So what are they doing with Seth Rollins? They are taking a absolute class act, world-class athlete, and doing not a whole hell of a lot is really the answer. And why he's not facing Roman Reigns? Well, because right now that they have Drew in line, right? Like, they have Clash at the Castle, and Drew being from Ireland And this Clash at the Castle pay-per-view is overseas, not in Ireland, but he is the overseas guy. I mean, like, he has been promoting the Clash at the Castle event for quite some time, and he even took off several weeks from WWE television. That tells you all you need to know about where they positioned Drew McIntyre for this upcoming event. I mean, it's going to be in Cardiff, Wales. I had to actually Google that because I forgot exactly where it was. So it's in Cardiff, Wales on September 3rd. I thought it was August. It's September 3rd, Clash at the Castle. And the graphic of this Clash at the Castle event has interesting faces on it. Now, this art for the poster for Clash of the Castle was likely made before we knew of any injuries with Cody, because Cody Rhodes' face is on it, Becky Lynch is on it, Edge is on it, Bianca Belair is on it, and Seth Rollins is on it. But the two prominent figures on this poster art is Drew and Roman. So there's no doubt about it's going to be Drew versus Roman for the WWE Undisputed Universal Heavyweight 24/7 Hardcore European Championship. That's what it's going to be. So that's something I'm looking forward to, because I think it'll be a fun match. It's actually something you can make a case for Roman losing. It'll be a fun build, and they have avoided this matchup for quite some time. They teased it a month ago, and then they're like, nah, haha, just kidding, right? Like, it's that commercial that is famously overused with the guy, I think it's a Geico commercial, more State Farm or something. The guy's who's holding, something on a fishing line, and he's like, oh, you almost got it. You almost had it. It's that. And that's what they've done, and they're finally going to give it to us at the Clash at the Castle event in Wales, September 3rd. So that's what's happening with that, and what they're doing with Seth, though, it's puzzling. I don't know if they'll ever get back to Seth versus Roman. Oh, I know they will, but will it be for the WWE Undisputed? Will it be for the Undisputed Championship? Probably not. Even though Seth Rollins is by far and away right now the best candidate, I think right now also with Seth, they're kind of biding their time until Cody can get back into the ring and have their Part 4 blow off, whatever that is, whenever that is, and whatever it may be. That's what they're also waiting on, because they know Cody and Seth have unfinished business. So, yeah, I hear you. I hear the frustration. I am front and center on that with Seth Rollins. So, all right, Kyle, thank you. Let's keep things rolling.
Hey, Matt, it's Permafire, Kyle. So I'm back from vacation, and 2 weeks ago I said I was going to go on vacation. That's why I wasn't on last week's mailbag. Since you were wondering where I was going, so basically I live in New York, like in the suburbs of New York, like an hour away from New York City, and basically I know you're from upstate. I actually have a vacation home upstate at a town up there called Margaretville. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. And we usually go up to our vacation house up there like 1 weekend a month, but this time we just had to go for a whole week because, summer, summer vacation. I don't know. So that's where I was for a whole week. But I've still been keeping up. I call up on the wrestling and I still listen to all your podcasts. I still listen to last week's mailbag that wasn't on. I'm still all caught up on all that. I have two questions. One, by the way, next week's Raw is in Madison Square Garden. I am pissed I can't go because I have to work. Because I am literally an hour away from the arena. I could just go, I can take an hour drive and get there. I'm pissed. Anyway, so this week on Raw we got announced that next week's Raw in Madison Square Garden is Rey Mysterio's 20th anniversary. I've heard rumors that Dominic Mysterio could turn heel on him and join Judgment Day. Do you think it's going to happen? I don't know. I think it will in this week's Raw. The whole thing happened as a swerve with Dominic, saying he's going to join us to stop them from hurting Rey and all that. So I think it will happen. My second thing, I actually thought of this the other day. I was thinking about this in my head. When the news came out that WWE wanted to go TV-14, they didn't this week. If they do still go TV-14, I thought of this. Do you think maybe they could be going TV-14 because if they're trying to eventually in the future hire MJF, since he's so savage on the mic stuff, do you think they're trying to make it TV-14 so they can get away with MJF on their show, cutting unscripted promos? Anyway, my 3 minutes are about to be up, so thanks as always, and I'll talk to you next week.
Kyle, what's going on, buddy? I hope you enjoyed your vacation in Margaretville. I know where that is. I haven't been there. It's so funny when to you that's upstate. To me, that's downstate. To me, that's like still an hour and a half, like southwest of me. So it's like when you said upstate, I'm like, oh, he's in the Adirondacks somewhere, right? But and if you say upstate to anyone outside the city, and you probably know this, Kyle, people think Westchester. Like you're White Plains. Oh, really? You're from White Plains, right? Because when you say you're from New York, the automatic assumption is you're from the city. And then when you say no, I'm from upstate, they'll say, oh, right, White Plains, Newburgh. It's like, no, it's unbelievable. There's to people that live in New York City. I'm not saying you, Kyle, but just the general population that live in New York City. Like there is nothing above Westchester. Like the rest of it's just the Adirondacks. Like the rest of it is just mountainous terrain to them. And just like mountainous, uninhabited, unexplored terrain to people that live outside New York City, above Westchester. But, yeah, so it's funny. Like, I know where that is, but it's still hour and a half, away from me, southwest. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed yourself. And yeah, look, I mean, we have an anniversary show coming up, the Mysterio's 20th anniversary. That is coming up. I forgot to mention that. I mean, because they did build to that. They built to that. They talked about Brock Lesnar, or rather Roman Reigns returning to Raw next week. We'll see if Brock actually is in the building as well. And there's something else that I can't remember. But does Dominic turn on Rey there? Well, let me just say this. If he doesn't turn there, he never turns. Because the stage is set. The Judgment Day said, no, you're not joining our group. That's not how this works. If you really wanted to join our group, you would have beat your father down with a steel chair. So the stage is set for Judgment Day to tell him what he needs to do to truly join the group. Of course, the history of Dominic and Rey, there's a ton you could pull there. But the stage of MSG, no bigger stage to do it. No bigger time when they're celebrating Rey Mysterio's 20th anniversary. That's big, right? And of course, the Judgment Day there. Now, the only thing I would say that is putting a damper or a fly in the ointment on this whole thing is Edge is looming out there. Do they want to really do a 2-for-1 with the Judgment Day where Dominic turns heel and Edge returns? That's a lot to digest. But could they do it? Certainly. I think the stage is set. There's never been a better time for this to happen than right now. With Dominic. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not, but boy, I'd give it like a 60-40 no, but 40% chance of yes. So that's what I'm thinking. But certainly that's the highest percentage I've thought of in my head that it could actually happen this week. Or rather in, what's today, Wednesday as I record this? 5 days. It could happen in 5 days at Madison Square Garden. I like it. I love it. And you also have to, it'll give you a clue too of the magnitude of what's going to happen in the segment they're about to show you based on the position of the show. For example, when they have a Raw Women's Championship match leading off the show, there's a extremely high likelihood of the championship not changing hands. Now, championships changing hands on regular TV doesn't happen very often. Sadly, it happens more often than it should. There's more championship matches as a whole than there should be. But when they position a championship match, for example, at the beginning of a show, you're like, yeah, well, that's they're trying to start the show off hot, but nothing's changing here, right? And so the position of that segment with the celebration of Rey Mysterio is going to be very important to the magnitude of what they're going to do with that segment. Meaning, if they have this as the main event of the show where Rey Mysterio is being celebrated, and the Judgment Day and all that, and come out and maybe beat him down, and you think Dominic's going to help him, and he turns on Rey, and then we get an Edge return, then that would warrant a main event of the show caliber type of placement. But if this celebration of Rey Mysterio, which I believe is actually going to, aren't they doing a 2-on-2 match too? I think there's a tag team match here, but also it's the celebration of Rey Mysterio. So if this match takes place in even the 2 hour mark, or anywhere outside the main event, likely it's not going to be a huge segment. So, but good question, Kyle. I like it. And let's see here. Oh, I'm sad that you can't go to the MSG show. That sucks. Can't you just tell work, hey, listen, I've got Raw in Madison Square Garden, right? Can I just telework from there? I don't know what you do, but maybe just like, hey, can I WebEx in or Zoom in to this? Can I work remotely somehow? And your last question about MJF, TV14. So do I think that they are looking at TV14 or MJF and saying, oh man, we got to get him. We have to get him so badly that we're going to blow up our entire model of doing business to just get MJF? The answer is no. But do they look at that as a bonus that he could definitely come in 2024 or sooner and come in and just be himself and not have to have that PG cap on him? Certainly. They look at that as kind of just a bonus side effect. But for them to throw all their eggs in one basket just for one talent to blow their whole model up, no. Plus the fact that, again, why would they do this now if MJF's contract doesn't end until 2024, January 2024, granted, a year and a half. So the short answer is no. But it'll be very advantageous for MJF when he comes to WWE that he won't have to be restricted and limited by that PG cap. So good stuff, Kyle. Love it. All right, let's get to the next voicemail.
Hey there, Matt. This is Mr. Dennis McGinley, heel of the show. I don't sound as well because of the camel face eating hog, Mr. Castle wrestling fan himself. He put me out. He put me in the hospital. But it's official. Adam Pearce made it official. We have a match at SummerSlam against each other. Yes, that's right. Me and him in the ring, toe to toe. That's it. And for all you dumb nuts that don't know how to pay $8 for a PLE on Monday, you missed a good one. I pounded that son of a gun, a casual wrestling fan, around that ring and took all his cockroaches and dismantled them. So anyway, have a good day, and I'll talk to you next time.
Hey, Dennis, I love how you just spend like 95% of your voicemail insulting casual wrestling fan or whoever. And then at the end, you're like, just, have a great day. It's like, so there is some light in you. But certainly you are the heel of the show. And hey, I want to be a witness to this matchup with Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan. I would imagine that it's not a physical in-person matchup, although if it is, maybe I should have you guys sign waivers that I didn't condone this or make it official, and it was Adam Pearce who did this. But if it's on WWE 2K22 or some kind of virtual format, I think that's the safer option. I would imagine that nobody's buying plane tickets to go meet up in some wrestling ring that somebody made. So I don't know how real this is all getting, but it does intrigue me. So, all right. Thanks, Dennis. Good stuff. You have a good day too. And hey, I will talk to you, I'm sure, next week. Let's get to our final few voicemails here.
Hey, man, it's Justin from Maryland. Hope all is well with you and the rest of the podcast family. Just want to get my thoughts on a couple of topics as we get closer to SummerSlam. So first is, where do you see this Judgment Day and Mysterio storyline going? Because, they're trying to turn Dominic against Ray, but we've been asking for that for basically since Dominic came. So where do you see this going? Because I thought we were going to get Edge and Balor at SummerSlam or some kind of match with Edge in the Judgment Day. But SummerSlam is next week. I saw that Edge was supposed to be hopefully returning on Monday, but that's not enough build for the match. So I just want to know where you think this is going. Should they just have Edge return and then just go ahead and have the match with Balor, or just try to build their match at Clash of the Castle? Because I don't really know. Like, I figured if Ed was coming back, he would have been back, you know. So if they have their match at SummerSlam, like, the build is going to be really small. I mean, you know, we got a story, but I feel like the build is going to be really short because Ed's going to come back literally the week of SummerSlam. Next is Seth and Riddle. I'm glad that the match finally got announced for SummerSlam. Hopefully Seth wins. I think it's going to get a pretty good match. I just hope Seth wins. He's been getting victories over Ezekiel. Doesn't really mean anything, but it's good that he's winning matches. So just hope that he defeats Riddle, and maybe he goes after the U.S. title, because I feel like Lash is going to need some heels to go against, probably KO, Seth, maybe Veer. But, yeah, just hope Seth wins. Bianca and Becky, I thought that they were going to go for triple threat, but I think their match, their one-on-one match is better, especially since what happened at last year's SummerSlam. So I think Bianca's going to win. I don't know. I feel like we can get a double turn, but I just feel like it's not time to take the title off her yet. We still got Rhea coming back. I want to see Bianca go against Alexa Bliss also. I feel like if it's not Rhea, Alexa Bliss could be the one to take the title off her. But I think we're going to get a good match, and but they'll probably go over. Finally, the Usos. I don't know the finish. I kind of want to see Angelo Dawkins turn on Montez and Usos.
Hey, Justin, you're once again a victim of the 3-minute timer, but you want to see Angelo turn on Dawkins? Yes. Angelo is a heel in the making. Montez Ford is a future WWE champion, period. End of subject. And do I think it's a little too soon, though, to turn Angelo on Montez or vice versa and have the Street Profits implode? I think it's still a little too early. I wouldn't lose my mind over it, but I think there's still a little bit more juice to squeeze out of this tag team. But ultimately, yeah, every tag team, every faction that's ever created is meant to break up. It's meant to create single stars, because single stars are really where the true money's at, the true success is at. Now, you can be super successful as a tag team, but it's not very common. So, yeah, definitely want to see Montez Ford face Angelo and have Angelo be the heel. Angelo Dawkins is an obnoxious personality, I have to say. On camera, he's obnoxious. In the ring, really good. Montez Ford in the ring, otherworldly. But Angelo Dawkins is just a natural heel. He's just obnoxious naturally, and that's a compliment to him. So, okay. You're happy about the triple threat with Bianca and Carmella and Becky not happening? It's just one-on-one? Totally agree. Now, could they do a double turn? They could. Do I think it's going to happen? I'd give it like a 1 in 4 chance. Now, if they did it, I think you have to keep Bianca Belair as champion. Have her do something that you've never seen her do before, where Becky pushes her to the absolute brink of losing, and Bianca, out of desperation, does something heelish to win. And people cheer, but are like, wait a minute, right? And then Bianca holds up her championship, and then Becky's sitting there just totally distraught in the corner, and then Bianca continues to beat her down viciously. You know, having Bianca just snap on Becky, even though she won the match and is still champion, Becky in her loss is still being beat down by Bianca. I could see it. I would love it. I want it. Give it to me. Do I think it's going to happen, though? Probably not. So, Edge, though, you're worried about the build, that you'd like more time to build the story to Clash at the Castle. While in normal circumstances, I would agree, here's the argument against that. Number one, Edge at SummerSlam is a bigger stage than Edge at Clash at the Castle, because it's their WrestleMania of the summer, arguably their second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and you want Edge in front of 60,000 people, and I'm sure Edge wants to be in front of 60,000 people. But also, Edge is one of the few talents that can cram 3 weeks of content in a promo, he has that skill, into a single promo. He has the ability to make you feel and make you want to see something instantly. Now, again, He can't make up for the lack of time, but he'll still make you want to see the match. He'd still make you pay to see that match. He's that good of a talker, that good of a promo, that he can cram in multiple weeks of what you would have said into a single promo and still make it feel coherent and not rushed. He's that talented. So there is that. But where do I think the Judgment Day is going? I mean, that's kind of been the theme that you guys have been asking me over the last 40 minutes here. Is what's happening with Judgment Day? What about Dominic turning heel? Edge coming back? One of these is happening, I think, on Monday, if not both. I would argue that the most likely is Edge returns Monday versus Dominic turning. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to see it. I'd want both to happen, and I'd want the double turn with Becky and Bianca to happen at SummerSlam. I don't think we're going to get all three of our wishes. I think we're going to get one of them, and that's just Edge returning and kind of plain Jane. Not to say it's not going to be fun or see what his new character or altered or modified or evolved character is, but I think that's the most likely and safest bet and highest likelihood out of the three is that it's just the Edge return, no Dominic turn, and that's it. So, again, I would do all three, but ultimately I think, though, it's Edge return, a 50-50 on Dominic, 60-40 rather on Dominic turning on Rey, although it's a perfect setup and a hell of a story that they could have from SummerSlam to Mania. See, that's the other thing that I want to drive home. I'm glad I thought of this. I drove it home on the show with Anthony DeMarco I did last Monday, talking about the current state of WWE, and it was about SummerSlam being sometimes for at least a few feuds every single year, not every year, but most years, there's a couple of feuds that begin at SummerSlam and have a long story arc to WrestleMania. And this is one of those that they could do with Dominic and Rey. Hell, it's father-son. Our first ever father-son tag team. They go back to 2004 with Eddie Guerrero, all that. There's a ton they could draw from. It'd be a fun storyline, I think. Dominic would instantly become more relevant and tolerable on the microphone. And so they could absolutely do that. Again, also with Edge. There's so much that they could do. This is going to be a fun SummerSlam, guys. I know that a lot of you, and including myself at times, have been a little bit down on it. There's so many potentials, right? John Cena appearing and Edge coming back. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, of course, but what about an appearance from Stone Cold? What about an appearance from The Rock after Roman Reigns wins? What about that? To tease a WrestleMania match. There's so much. This is going to be a fun SummerSlam. Now, if they do none of those things, it'll be an underwhelming SummerSlam. But I think that they know they have the palm in they have the fate of WrestleMania in their hands right now in terms of the main event, and I don't think that they can't miss it. I hope. But yeah, so I think that's it. So thank you, Justin. Good points as always, and we will talk next week. Let's get to our final voicemail.
Hello, WWE Podcast. Hello, Matt. Alex, the French guy here, current European champion, as you know. So, I wanted to talk about two different subjects, but one is very quick, and it is about NXT. Actually, I heard that I don't know if you found yet someone to make the NXT reviews. I would gladly do it if I were watching NXT and if I had material, good voice recorders. But I have a feeling that NXT is going up and down these past few months, honestly, and since its creation. So Triple H made it something interesting by bringing the indie guys and developing them. However, I have the feeling that WWE don't really know what they want to do with their product, with this product being NXT, as it's kind of different of the original product, but still with the same idea to entertain and not to wrestle. With that in mind, that brings to the end of the first subject. And second subject that I would like to discuss and most likely to question is the direction of WWE actually in these past few weeks, since we all know that the PG era is coming to an end. I heard recently, just an hour ago, that it could be on SummerSlam. However, WWE is also having stars like Logan Paul, obviously trying to attract a younger audience and also the other project of, and obviously they want to bring more young people to watch the product. So I don't understand actually why is it that they want to bring an end to PG-14 and at the same time bringing new young people to the product. If it's something developed, that could be very interesting. But if it's not, I don't understand the logic actually. So that was all for me. Take care, Matt, and take care, WWE Podcast family.
Alex, how you doing, man? NXT, yeah, I mean, as far as a new host, I'm still working on it. I have a couple of candidates that I want to say interviewing because that sounds more professional. I'll say interviewing. Sounds cool. But no, there are some people out there that I am working with as a potential host for that show. Now, does it feel like WWE doesn't know what they want to do with NXT and it feels more entertaining than wrestling-y? Yes. I mean, that NXT is not meant to be a totally different product. At its roots, when NXT was at its best, I think, was when it felt like it wasn't actually under the WWE umbrella. It felt like its own little counterculture for what WWE product the main roster has been putting out for years and years and years and years and years. And there was no competition. WCW obviously went under many years ago. There was no true, real second place to go. And NXT, even though it was under the WWE umbrella, felt like it wasn't WWE. And that's what made it so great. It wasn't just the typical way that WWE presents wrestling. And now with Vince taking over that show, we'll see how much longer he's in charge. But NXT 2.0 did nothing, I think, other than just make it feel more like Raw and SmackDown. And that's not what you want. That's not a way to grow a brand. That just makes it feel like a third wheel rather than its own brand. And that's how I feel anyway about it. But the direction of WWE, I mean, we're going to find out. The TV-14 thing and your question about Logan Paul and he has a lot of younger viewers and all that. Yeah, he does. I mean, but don't forget, it's TV-14, not TVMA where it's 18 and over. Like 14 years old. I mean, you just became a teenager. That's when I started watching wrestling. I got into it. And a lot of parents are okay with kids still watching wrestling because it doesn't, even if it's TV-14 rating, it's not as vulgar or as brash or violent or sexual as a lot of other shows under that same category, and especially the other shows of TVMA and all that. And plus, let's be honest, if kids are more savvy than their parents with watching wrestling or watching programming that their family and parents don't want you to watch. They're more technology savvy. If they want to get around parent blockers or just use their friend's phone or whatever, they're going to find ways to watch it. Now, that's not to say that their parents won't be interested in watching it. I think a lot of the purpose of this is to not just continue to build younger fans, which is a smart strategy, and part of the reason they went PG is to build a new generation of fans, but also is to not just worry about the younger fans, but bring back the ones that may have left. Bring back the people that, in my generation, the elder millennials that left after the Ruthless Aggression era and saw TV PG and saw how soft it was and said, yeah, this is all kiddie now. And it's not the way it used to be. And a lot of people dropped off. And when they hear that WWE's going back to TV-14, maybe that'll bring some interest back. At least for those that left, maybe they'll peek their head back in and go, what's this all about? You know, and it won't last long, but it'll at least spike the ratings in the short term. And if they're successful in implementing TV-14 in a smart way, they'll retain some of those that new audience or bring back the older audience. So I think that's what it's about. It's about that, and certainly I think it's a good strategy. I like it. It's not going to be the Attitude Era again. I'm not expecting it to be the Attitude Era again. People forget that, yeah, there was a lot more violence and chair shots to the head. I really miss those. If they were safe, I'd really miss chair shots to the head. But the blood was there. Yes, the cursing when necessary was there. It felt more real. It didn't feel so manufactured from this like cartoon wrestling company at times. It felt like it was a gut level, real, a lot of real programs going on. But they also had an all-star roster. You know, we don't have a Stone Cold Steve Austin right now. We don't have a Rock. We don't have Taker. We don't have Triple H. We don't have Kane. We don't have Chris Jericho, right? Like all these people that helped build the Attitude Era into what it is. We don't have that. You know, we can change the TV rating. That's not going to fix everything. You know, so that's the one thing we all have to keep in mind. So All right. Thank you, Alex. Thank you to everybody who called in and wrote in today. Probably the shortest mailbag show that we've had in quite a while, but that's okay because in the next couple of weeks, I'd imagine things are going to ramp up in a big way with SummerSlam previewing and reviewing and a lot to talk about. There's no doubt about that. But next week, Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan take over the show for the mailbag for the emails. So send in your emails. Patreon members can do that in the internal messaging system, but the rest of you, please continue to consider joining us on Patreon, because not only do you get priority placement right at the beginning of the show, but you also get the Discord server, and that's a great place to be for SummerSlam when you want to talk to people as the show's going on in real time, your reactions to what you're seeing and other people's reactions, and the interaction with real true wrestling fans is nothing like it. So that's a great place to be. It's a great community over there on the Discord server, and you get access to that for $1 a month on top of hundreds of ad-free episodes. And so definitely worth, I think, $1. I can't make it lower, guys. I can't. So, but anyway, definitely join us over there, patreon.com/WWE podcast. Get yourself ready for SummerSlam. And also at our website, WWEpodcast.com, go VIP and get the exact same ad-free experience on our website, along with video as well, for just a couple of bucks a month. Or at Apple Podcasts, ad-free button is right there for 99 cents a month or $10 for the entire year. Can you beat that? Geez, that's 2 months for free. So, all right, everybody, before I start this as an infomercial, I feel like I'm, Ronco selling set it and forget it or something. But all right. Thank you, everybody for listening. I am done for the week, but I'll be back this weekend with your weekend review, and then take a deep breath, because next week is wall-to-wall SummerSlam preview, review, double preview, review. It's going to be crazy. So until then, thank you guys, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.